Bienvenidos a su programa de Cabeza. Hoy tenemos una exquisita conversación con Julia Sweeney. Ella es una actriz americana, es comediante, es autora estadounidense. Seguramente la van a reconocer por su papel en el elenco de Saturday Night Live y por su famosísimo show de monólogos autobiográficos. De hecho, su tercer monólogo ha sido sumamente famoso, que se llama Letting Go of God. Habla de su educación católica, de su temprana creencia religiosa. Es una persona que se ha cuestionado a sí misma. Usa la comedia, pero lo que tiene ella es ser enormemente profunda. Además, tuve el honor de compartir con ella varios eventos, entre otros en el Lincoln Center en Washington, en el Recent Rally, donde cada uno tuvo la oportunidad de hablar de por qué piensa como piensa y por qué la razón hay que traerla con el pensamiento crítico en el mundo actual. Ahí me quedé encantado de su manera de ser, más allá de admirar su manera de pensar. Y la invité a nada más y nada menos a que en mi matrimonio secular que nos oficiaron 3 personajes distinguidos, ella fuera una de esas personalidades. Por lo cual no solamente le tengo admiración, sino enorme gratitud. Julia Sweeney, welcome to your program. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, Andre.
It's an honor. How are you? How's everything going
I'm
with you?
good. Good.
Great.
I just spent 2 weeks camping.
Wow. Where? In California?
In California and Oregon, just on the coast.
Great.
It was good.
I'm your biggest fan, you know. Could we start a little bit if you share with us what do you do today? What are a little bit about your credentials? And then I would love to talk to you about philosophical ideas, philosophical and deep thinking that I would like to share with you about life, about demons, about God, about... Please, welcome.
Sure.
Who are you? Share a little bit with us about your credentials.
Well, I'm a writer and an actress. I do one-person shows. I've done many, including Letting Go of God, which you talked about. I just did another show called Julia Sweeney, Older and Wider, which I'm filming next year.
Wow.
And so I've written a lot, and I've done a lot of one-person shows, and I've been on a lot of comedy shows. But in the last year, my acting career sort of exploded. I'm on 3 different TV shows right now. So it's really unexpected that at age 60, I suddenly seem to be very in demand as an actress.
You're full of grace. Sure, I would love to make a game with you. It's the first time that we will do this in our program, which is called Upside Down. I would like to ask you like 13 questions just to know you a little bit more that we share with a magazine, a new philosophy, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And if you don't like any questions, you say pass. That's it, okay?
Okay.
So I will start with the first one that I wrote. What's Julia Sweeney demon? What's your demon?
Oh.
Your monster.
Well, if I'm completely honest, my daemon is it's really my need to please others all the time before thinking about doing what I want. I have a huge socialized or just my genetics, I don't know what, I'm other focused and I'm always worried about how other people are doing. And it really is hard because I want to accomplish things that require me to not have to do things for others all the time. But I'm always sucked into that. I think it's a woman thing, but it's also a human thing. And it's really hard for me. That's my demon.
It's a human thing. I think so. I share it with you. What do you think about this line that says the formula for failure is try to please everybody? Do you think it's part of the problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, another question.
It's hard for me to tolerate somebody not liking me or being upset with me. That's very, very hard for me to tolerate. And it gets in the way of me doing what I want and what is right, even.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you very much. Another question. What is the most important part of your education?
Well, in the arts, I was taught, I went to Catholic schools and I had incredible nuns actually in high school that were taught English literature. And that was a huge opening experience. But I would say my real education didn't begin till I was about 36 or 37 when I started reading Michael Shermer, that led me to Daniel Dennett, that led me to Richard Dawkins, and on and on. And my worldview changed. That was, I didn't really know about science before at all. I mean, I thought I knew, but I didn't. And because that's the thing that Catholics teach you is that, oh, we love science. It's like, really? I don't think so. But that was when my real education began, I would say, the most important education of my life.
I'm surprised. I never thought it was until you were 36, 37. I thought I thought that you were much more younger when you wake up.
No, I wasn't. I didn't become an atheist or say that I was an atheist, which is hard, you know, especially in this culture, until I was 40.
And as you know, there are many kinds of atheists in a way. How much, I mean, Christopher Hitchens, for example, who was also with us at Ciudad de las Ideas, who passed away, and I was a big, big fan. And I'm a big, big fan of his work. For example, he probably respect a little bit less the people that are believers than people like Dan Dennett or Michael Shermer. What's your position there?
I actually am very compassionate with believers, even though I think we should do everything we can to stop them from implementing their worldview on us. But I am compassionate because religion is so much more. It's an art, it's a community, it's ritual. It provides so much. Like, I understand why people are religious. I get it. I wouldn't say I respect it, because I think if you think about it closely enough, you realize there's other things that are better. But it is a good coping mechanism for being a human being. I mean, it's with us for a reason. You know, like, it works.
And probably it was there for a reason, and like many other traditions and things, that today we keep them, but probably life have changed, and they had much more a reason years before. But, well, I don't know. I strongly recommend, in this sense, a book by Alan de Botton about atheists with the good traditions that religion could bring to the table. Well, we will keep talking about it.
I'm a big fan of his as well, but yeah, I agree completely.
Which thinker has had the greatest influence on your life?
That's really hard to say. I mean, I probably would say Richard Dawkins, actually. But so many. I mean, there's so many. Susan Blackmore, Voltaire. You know, I love Voltaire. George Eliot, the novelist, she was an atheist, but she wrote incredible novels. I guess probably Richard Dawkins is the one that really, well, maybe Daniel Dennett too, but more Richard Dawkins, I would say.
Richard Dawkins, it's an amazing an amazing thinker. And I share with you in many ways that he's one of the best thinkers of today. By the way, I went to his home just like 7 months ago in Oxford.
Oh,
he
really?
just moved to a new place. And I love it because he's living next to a cemetery. And I told him, what's going on? And he told me it's amazing because my neighbors never make noise. So he has also his great humor as you know him.
If it was me, I would say, I just have to take one more step. I don't have to go far.
It will be much more cheaper in case. That's an amazing answer.
Yes.
Talking about humor, what's for Julia the meaning of happiness? What is happiness for you?
Well, I do not think you should even think about happiness. I think happiness is a byproduct of you doing something meaningful that you care about and working on it. That's what I think. I think for me, when I'm happiest, it's more like this. It's just a byproduct of a job well done or a meaningful interaction. But if I think of, like, I think it's a big mistake in the U.S. Constitution saying the pursuit of happiness. I don't think anyone should pursue happiness.
I
You
love
don't
it.
get happiness by pursuing it.
Julia, I mean, I love what you mentioned. I'm writing a book named Homo Sapiens, and I will quote you. It's amazing. You're
good.
right. It's one of the biggest traps of humanity.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was said, but not so well, even by Schopenhauer. I mean, this is very profound and more for a person that has been in comedy, and it has to do, and of course, humor and happiness is not the same thing. But I love your answer. Okay, another question.
Well, some people think happiness is pleasure, you know, which is a really bad thing to aim for too much. And I just think that people shouldn't worry about happiness. They should worry about having meaningful work in their life and meaningful relationships and making a difference. And then happiness will come and go. It's like a fleeting, it comes, it goes.
And sometimes could be much more than you have a purpose that you create by yourself and you give meaningfulness, because who is whom to define what means a meaningful life. Even that Socrates have talked, as you know, and Robert Nozick, having an examined life and become aware and think about it. Sometimes it's just execution, live life, and that's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
This question, it will have a little bit a condition. What do you doubt most? But I'm not talking exception of the existence of God. What do you doubt most?
That individuals can truly transcend their basic character.
People cannot change. That's what you're telling me?
Well, no, I think people can change, but people can make some changes about themselves.
But not the...
I'm a testament to that. I see that all the time. But in maybe bigger ways, your temperament and your type of person you are, you really can't change that. I think you can work on the edges of it to be better. You can learn to be more helpful or a better person or whatever it is. But like, I feel like I'm like a Labrador retriever. That's my personality. I'm just got a lot of energy and I'm going to go, and I can't really change that, you know? And like, my husband is very sedentary, very quiet, and he can change little things about himself, but I don't think humans can change their temperament.
That's fantastic. Actually, I think that, well, some people like televisions or whatever, but they cannot become a radio. But probably...
Right, exactly.
But they probably could get a new channel, you know? Probably they could adapt
I think
something.
if you have modest goals to change the edges of your temperament, you can do little things.
And you know, I have seen that people could probably change in a way their behavior, but not their character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They change their behavior, but inside there is a lot of repression, and they do it, and good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, if you could change one thing about the world, what would that be?
Okay, I've got a good answer.
Tell me.
It's because I'm going crazy over this author right now, who's I think 90. You should get her on your show. Her name is Rihanna Eisler, and she wrote this book called The Chalice and the Blade, I think in 1987. She's written a bunch of books since. But I've been very interested in how our patriarchal culture really got, like, why? You know, is it just because men are bigger than women or whatever? And I became very interested in early goddess worship before the agricultural revolution happened. And I used to kind of dismiss it as sort of a feminist fantasy. You know, we all used to worship goddesses and now it's a god. And I kind of thought, oh, that's so sad that you have to think that. But actually it's true. Up until about 2000 BC, most cultures were goddess oriented. I mean, they were animist, you know, they didn't have science. They made up, you know, things. But when they thought of how did life begin, of course, they thought of a woman. A woman is the one who gives birth. Why wouldn't it be a woman who created the world? And what she's taught me, so what I wish I could change is that right now, what she calls it is not patriarchal culture, which I like, because that kind of makes it with men. It's a dominator culture where you're dominating other groups. But before that, there was more of a partnership culture. And now we're seeing in certain countries like Norway and New Zealand, who are led by women. But it doesn't have to be women. It's not really about women. It's more of a partnership view of the world rather than a dominator view of the world, which of course goes along with Catholicism and all these patriarchal religions, which have just wreaked havoc on our world. And that's what I wish. I wish we could go back to a partnership world instead of a dominator world.
Love it. Okay. Even that you have a critical mind, and I was saying at the beginning in Spanish that when you gave your speech at the recent rally, I was like, oh, I want to be the friend of this person. But
so
in any case, everybody suffers of cognitive dissonance. In your particular case,
Yes.
what's your illusion that do you suffer from? If you have one aware of it.
I believe in human progress.
Well,
I think
and having the
will get
president
better.
that you
I
have
think things
today,
will get better, and I think that may be a delusion.
more with the president that you have today. No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying something that probably is not politically correct, but yes, probably yes. You know, if you read all the books of Steven Pinker and what have happening with Matt Ridley and all this work, I think it's not an illusion. All the data actually goes on that direction.
And actually, Steven Pinker has me holding on because that book was so important, Enlightenment Now, to me, because it's really, I have so many fears about what climate change is going to do, what series of pandemics might be doing. Like it could get really bad, like it really could. And it has before, like it, and when I read his book, it really pulls the camera back. Like we have made incredible progress, but I guess I worry that it could go away very quickly.
And you're right. I mean, there's always a black swan. We never expect this pandemic. But as you, I really recommend the book Enlightenment by Steven Pinker and the book of an innovation now by Matt Ridley, which go in the same direction.
Oh.
And what is amazing is that the perception that we're not having progress is pretty strong, even that the data is different. And part of the responsibility has to do with social media and that bad news are the news, you know? Another question.
What? I take it back. I don't feel that way. You've convinced me.
Okay, fantastic. And what would you never do, no matter the price? I mean, there could be many things, but...
There's so many things.
Sure.
The first thing I would think is an obvious one that everyone would say, I would never kill my child.
Wow. That's a great answer.
May be true. I just have been reading about actually terrible situations where parents have killed their kids to prevent them from going to a concentration camp or to prevent them from being in a life of slavery. But I feel like that's an easy answer. But
No, very impressive. I mean, I never thought about it.
I think I would just die first. I couldn't do that. Does that make me a good person? That's what any mother would say. Okay.
I mean, even that you cannot change, as we were talking about your character. Well, you changed, but now you are convinced of, for example, your perspective, your cosmovision of reason versus theism. If you would have had $1 billion, could you become a very orthodox religious person? There would be a prize for you? Okay.
No, never. No. Okay. My mind is free now. I feel like I see the world, I'm limited by my intellect, but I see the world realistically. And it's not pretty, but it's also pretty. And I think you miss both when you're religious. I think you miss the pretty and the ugly. You miss it all. So I would never, for any amount of money, never.
Okay,
now, I would, if somebody was holding a gun to my head and said, you have to worship Allah or whoever, Buddha, I would say yes. because I can fake it.
I
Um,
agree. That's the point. At the end, we could fake it and you receive the money and whatever you want. But
yeah,
yes,
I
you're
would
right.
fake it, but only under dire circumstances. Like, I guess
Can't,
if you said, okay, if you said you have $1 billion that you can give to change the world, but you have to live the rest of your life as an Orthodox Jewish woman.
wow. No, I
I
mean,
would do it. I would probably do it if I really thought it would help more people. But I
very.
wouldn't want to.
No, 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 no. You will make the $1 billion. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And okay, if you could something much more light, if you could choose,
Okay.
what would you have for your last meal?
Oh.
What would that be?
Well, my husband makes the most incredible pastrami.
Oh wow!
It's so good. And it takes days. It takes a week of brine, and then he smokes it, and then he steams it. I would say a pastrami and coleslaw sandwich on rye bread with Russian dressing.
Great. I thought you were going to say a plate of rice, and you will eat rice by rice, like each rice every 5 minutes. As a
That's
Mexican,
funny.
of course, I will have a cold tequila with a very, very spicy food, but that's nice. Another
That's
question.
good too. I could go for that one.
If I mean, this question that I wrote is, if you could, the question you would most like to ask other person. If you could have a question that you could
Yes.
ask.
How do you accomplish things? I guess I've accomplished things, but I find that there are people who really accomplish a lot and they really manage other people well in a good way. And I'm a very solitary, haphazard. I would ask those people how they did it. I guess that.
Very good.
How do you do it?
Do you have by any chance a favorite word or 2, 3, 4, 5 favorite words that you could bring and share with us?
I like the sound V, like the, like I like vivacious and vigor and vitality. I love the V, I like that, like vivisection.
I love it. I mean, it has to do to be alive.
Yes.
As you know, there is a great philosopher named Henry Bergson, who was a great thinker, as you know, and he talked about elan vital, that at the end, that's the meaning of everything. And okay, not talking about a word, but about a motto. Do you have a motto?
I do. I think, well, it's sort of related to other things that we said, but I would say it's, I am capable of improving through effort and work. I'm capable of being better. I can be better. I can understand more. I can get better at the things I want to get better at incrementally, but I am capable of getting better.
That's incredible, because related to this question that you cannot change really in the big sense, but yes, in step by steps, and that's interesting, because I mean, it's not a crime against logic at all, but in a way we can change, even that we cannot change our essence or our transcendence.
But I think we can change little things. I think our goals should be much more modest. About ourselves, about our own character. I mean, the world, I think we should have the biggest view and the biggest hopes and the biggest change. But as a person, just your habits and your personality and little things, I think just modest goals, but incrementally better.
Amazing. What if you could? I mean, probably after so many years of working at Saturday Night Live, you lived very different experiences. But at the end, what's the flavor of you that you have about that amazing participation that you had in that important program?
That was the most exhilarating participation and collaboration that I've ever felt. Because the show was live and you had to go on live, you couldn't delay, like it had to go on. And because there were so many moving parts and it had been on so long, even when I was on in 1990, which is a very long time ago, there were so many moving parts. It was like being in a great military or something, or like a great, like it's a car factory where things are like there's so many people and running in this way and that. And then you have this rush to do the show at 11:30 at night, and then at 1 o'clock it's over, and it's always, you can't make it go on longer, it's done. And I love live television for that. I loved feeling like I was a little cog in a machine, but an important cog. And it was just exhilarating. And I felt like everything of my whole life I brought to it, every skill I ever had, my humor, but my ability to write, my ability to change focus, my ability to change on the fly, all of those things helped. Even my accounting background, like everything I did helped me be better at that job. And that's fun. You don't get many jobs where everything that you are is in play.
After the people, I mean, on the one hand, we have talked about the importance for you to please everybody. On the other hand, an amazing role that you play in Saturday Night Live and in many other shows and plays and movies, etc., that you have been. But in the middle, there's the moment when you are with new acquaintances and you're in different places, but the people probably expect from you that you will bring humor and intelligence, because that's very correlated to any environment that you come. And the pressure of pleasing, even if you don't feel well, to make a joke, to bring humor, to be so charismatic, it could be very tiring sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, in fact, I think as I get older, I'm less funny, but I'm okay with it, because I don't need to be funny like I used to. I mean, when I was young, being funny made me stand out. It let people know that I was smart and I could see things. I got a lot of attention. Of course, I loved that. But now I don't, I'm older and I just don't need that so much. I mean, I'm still funny. I mean, I still think, but I don't compulsively think of what's funny anymore. And now I've been writing some short stories and they're not funny. Like maybe they'll have a couple of laughs in them, but I'm definitely less concerned with being funny than I used to. But I'm glad. I feel like it's a maturing, like I don't need it so much.
Given our time, I really want to ask you that. I mean, Sigmund Freud, as you know, who had many mistakes, and sometimes he just said,
many.
I know. He said once, a cigar, sometimes it's only a cigar, and it doesn't have any other meaning, and don't try to find any other meaning. But now that I'm watching you, I can see behind you, I don't know, a saint, a virgin, a rock star.
The Virgin Mary and Elvis.
Elvis, yes. Could you share with us what's the purpose of having that behind you? Or
well,
it's just...
It kind of was an accident. But then
okay.
I liked it. It was a good accident. The Mary, I think my parents gave me 30 years ago and was in the backyard, but during an earthquake, she fell into the pool and broke in two. And and I glued her back together, but she was just sitting around the backyard. And then the Elvis lamp I had at Saturday Night Live in my dressing room.
Okay.
And I loved it. Whenever I'd always go like, "Oh, Elvis, my sketch got cut," or something. Like Elvis became the person I could cry and say, "Why?" And then when I was trying to set up a good Zoom look in my office, so I was going around the house looking for things that were kind of blues and nice colors. And so I ended up with Elvis and Mary. But
Julia.
Elvis did like the virgins, so. They go together.
Julia, it's a pleasure, always it's a pleasure to learn from you, to share with you your energy, your grace, your vitality, your vigor, your elan vital. It's an honor not only for this program to have you, but for the world to have a person like you. Thank you very much and have a great
Okay, but
Sunday.
wait a minute, Andre. I feel the same about you.
Gracias. Muchas gracias. All my love. Thank you very much. Gracias. Good night. See you soon. Señoras y señores, esta es Julia Sweeney y es un personaje, es una persona que ha llegado a mover el mundo con sus ideas, con su gracia, pero también los invito a que las mismas preguntas que acabamos ahora de rebotar con ella, pues nos las hagamos entre nosotros o a nosotros mismos, porque no hay nada más interesante que aprender de uno mismo a través de las preguntas que confronta. Y un personaje como Julia Sweeney nos enseña mucho de qué vale la pena buscar para responder. Muchas gracias, quédese en ADN 40, un placer. Soy Andrés Roemer. Buenas noches.